Hey everybody, this is Timo from Paddle FYI, and we're today at the beautiful We Are Paddle Berlin to do a review of the Volt Paddle 800. Volt Paddle is a small brand out of Portugal. You might know them because Salingo plays with their racket. That's a more aggressive model, the 1000. But this model is around control, precision, hard touch, low balance. So let's get into it. So Volt Paddle is a small company out of Porto, Portugal. They make some rackets that all look really nice like this. I think it's beautiful. And today we're gonna break it down into price, specs, how it plays on the court, and my final recommendations. So regarding the price, a quick disclaimer, I did receive this racket for free. We have a partnership. That's so I can give you guys better information about these small brands and what they're trying to do and if they're worth it or not. And I can also give you guys a small discount with this coupon code that I'm going to put into the description. Okay, so I think this racket is about 275 euros. It's not inexpensive, right? But it really is made with premium materials. It feels very solid. And you guys can test them out for about 20 euros. And then if you decide to purchase it after a week of playing with it, then that 20 will be applied to the total price. So it's one thing to consider. The test and buy program I think is pretty awesome. With that, we'll move on to the specifications. So we have a kind of conventional cinching wrist strap. It's got Volt and Unleash the Tension written on it, which is also up here. I think this is kind of like wrist strap that I like. I think it's easy, it's comfortable, you forget about it. So about the handle, relatively thin, about 11.5 centimeters, so not too long, maybe similar to a Knox handle. It goes up to this bridge, kind of in a V shape, maybe like a Volt Paddle branded thing. I've never seen this before. And this goes up to the racket face, which has these nice hexagons on them, which I don't really feel when I'm playing with it in terms of spin, but it looks quite nice. It reminds me of an Adidas Splin Blade. And they have like 62 holes on here. They're about 12 millimeter holes, and they go pretty far to the edge, which is good for like a hard racket, to bring the sweet spot out a little bit. The balance is a little bit over 25 centimeters, so very low, very maneuverable oriented racket, and it's pretty hard. So they have this high density Ava in the core, combined with a 3K carbon face, which means it's a pretty hard racket. One thing I do think that's really special about Volt Paddle is that you can choose your racket in 5-gram increments. So these rackets go from 350 to 370 grams. So then you can choose, if you know you like particularly light rackets, you can go for something lower. I love that they do that. That's a bit about specifications. Let's play around with it and see what it's like on the court. All right, so the Volt 800 prioritizes maneuverability and control. Specifically with regard to maneuverability, this model is 363 grams with the 25 centimeter balance. That means that the balance is quite low. If you add some overgrips, the balance will go even lower, below 25 centimeters. And this means that it's very easy, very fast. It doesn't require much strength to move it around. You have like a bit of stability because you have this weight in the handle as opposed to the weight in the top of the racket, the head of the racket, which will give you a little bit of power, but will make you a little bit slower. And with regard to control, it has a pretty hard touch. So the 3K carbon fiber surface combined with the high density foam core, Ava core, will give you precision in your shots. You won't have that bounce effect. It won't be like you're just blocking the ball and the ball bounces all the way over the court. It'll be like if you block the ball, then the ball will go short over the net. And if you block the ball really hard, then the ball will go higher over the net. So with its lightness, with its agility, with its speed in the back of the court, it's pretty easy to defend with. Of course, this sweet spot is a little bit smaller because of the hard touch, but because it's round, the sweet spot is like centrally located and not super small. It's fun to do ground strokes with, both backhand. I was training backhands yesterday. It has a pretty hard touch, so like medium hard. It has this comfortable feel that the Material Dual doesn't have. So it reminds me a little bit of added power control in that regards, of course with the lower balance.
In the middle of the court, you'll have the typical problems of lighter rackets. You'll have this feeling like your shots maybe aren't going always as deep as you expect them to. You might want to use more swing speed, and then you might have issues with timing. I talk a little bit about this in my recent review with the 2-2 Play 2, which I'll link up there and down there. I'd say that this could be a problem for you, and one way that I set out to resolve it was by incorporating the walls and the fence into a lot of my aerial shots. But it's something to consider for a light racket. Over time, you'll get used to it, but it's something that if you're coming from higher balance rackets, that you might need to make sure that you're deliberately adjusting yourself to it. At the net, its hardness is nice, specifically in blocks. So if you're blocking high-speed shots, you have this kind of like firmness, just rigidity that makes you feel comfortable. It's not like you're going to bounce it off the racket all the way into the wall so easily. You will notice again the weight there. So if you're blocking high-speed shots, it's going to come back. You're going to use your, let's say, this part of your arm to make sure that it doesn't go back too far, right? If you get some heavy balls. But it's nice in volleys. I like the round shape in volleys. It doesn't have so much weight at the top, so when you want to put power, you need to make sure that you're not overexerting yourself so that you lose power and you shoot the ball into the wall. But it feels comfortable with its shape and being able to go fast with it. It kind of reminds me of the Puma Momo racket, so pretty low balance. That one, of course, is a bit softer than this one, so maybe a little bit more control with this one. But if you're looking for a racket like that, or like the Bull Paddle Neuron, which is the new version of the Vertex Control, or Star by Meteor Warrior, it's a similar kind of feeling to these rackets. With regard to finishing, with regard to smashes, it is not the racket designed for that. It's really not optimized for that. You can do it, and I had a lot of fun smashing with it a couple days ago when I was at a training, but it's not made for that. I mean, if you have a great shot, you have no issues smashing whatsoever. But the thing I come to again and again is this like idea of timing. With rackets where you use high swing speed in order to generate the power, you'll need to slow yourself down in order to not make that swing speed so fast, right? So I think like finding where that balance is has taken me a little bit of time of adjustment when coming from heavier rackets. So again, decent smashes, the big sweet spot helps, and the hardness also is very nice, and you get this like crack of satisfaction from the racket when you hit it, high pitched sound when you smash it flat in particular. But it's not designed for that, but I think I felt comfortable enough when I was smashing. So who should buy this racket and who should not buy it? I think when you're looking at a racket like this, it's really beautiful. It has this interesting design. I think the branding has been done super well. So I think if that's something that's important to you, it feels solid. You're also paying to support a small brand. Pedro and the guys have been super nice. They, of course, don't have the size of budgets to advertise and sponsor players like Paquito and Juan LeBron. But if you want to support a small brand that will see you as a human rather than a number, this is a brand that I think you should consider. I think this racket suits upper intermediate players who are comfortable with a harder touch and who want a harder touch, maybe more control oriented players on the right side. I wouldn't recommend this for smashers. I mean, if you're a smasher and looking for help with smashing, then this is not going to be the best racket for you. We'll have some other reviews of some other Volt rackets that might suit you a little bit better. Yeah, and again, just double clicking on the hard touch thing. I think this racket, it's not a medium touch. It's I would call it medium hard touch. So if you're not sure if you want that, I would say consider a maybe softer racket. So I think this racket is maybe for people who know that they like harder touch rackets. And one last thing, when I was recording the review, I actually wound up hitting the wall pretty hard. I was defending in the corner a little bit, and yeah, I just hit the wall way harder than I expected, and then I should have. But the interesting way that the paint came off, I think, like it's quite a large chunk. That's a little bit surprising. I don't know if it's something that's wrong, and it's not, the carbon is not cracked. But I wanted to share that in the interest of just being as transparent as possible. But I felt a little bit of play, and you can hear that. Then I took off the undergrip to see what that was, and you can see that this little mound that I actually like a lot has been cracked through. So I don't know if that happened at the same time as this, but I don't like that. I didn't notice it before this happened, but it seems like it happened at different, like how could these things happen at the same time? So I'm surprised about that. It makes a little bit of noise. It plays a little bit. I don't like this anymore. I think I'll probably take the mound off and then see what I can do with with a custom undergrip. I put a lot of energy into doing these reviews, so if you found it interesting or helpful, please do try to subscribe. Team Paddle FYI is like a Patreon of sort to help me do these reviews, which take a little bit of money and time. I just did my taxes for last year, and we did not make money. So just so you know, if you would like to participate in our monthly giveaways, we have one in a week. That's going to be the Play 2 from Tutu. We're doing monthly giveaway. And by the way, there's no one in it yet. So if you are the only person that signs up for Team Paddle FYI, it's €5 a month. You could get a free racket that's just been played with me for about 5 times while I do the review. So think about it, and thanks so much guys for joining. It's been a pleasure going on this journey with you, and looking forward to continuing it. Ciao.